Nightwing number 25, written by Kyle Higgins, art by Will Conrad. So it's a 0-year tie-in, but this one doesn't happen during the superstorm as most other ones do. This one is during the Riddler's blackout. So we open up with this weird Power Rangers-esque fight scene with a bunch of people that have swords called the Sword Walkers. And long story short, it's revealed it's just a movie that Dick Grayson is in the audience watching. And there's like a couple of kids down at the end of this row who are, laughing and being very rambunctious. And he's just like, psh, all right, these troublemakers. And then all of a sudden the power goes out across the whole city. And of course, that means the movie theater as well. And everyone's like, what? Huh? What's going on? Is this part of the movie? No, the lights like on the exit signs are out too. And someone comes in saying, hey, the whole city's dead. And someone screams out, we're being attacked, which causes just this massive panic. Everyone's running for the exits, and it looks like Dick Grayson gets trampled in all the mess, and he goes unconscious. So we go 3 hours earlier. We're doing a circus performance. Dick is up on the trapeze, and he's working with Raymond and Raya, and looks like everything's going well. Everyone's great. But then Dick decides, like, hey, I know our normal finale, but I'm really feeling it tonight. I'm going to go for it. And they're like, what? What are you talking? And then he does a quadruple spin or something like that. It's everyone cheers. It's amazing. And even the announcer is like, oh, the star of the whole circus, Dick Grayson. And we see that Raya and, I just said his name, Raymond, are both a little bit nonplussed by his show-offiness. So later on, he meets up with the two of them and says, hey, sorry about that. I was just feeling it. He's like, yeah, you feel it every night, don't you? And he's like, it was a good show. Isn't that what matters? And they're like, yeah, totally. So they're supposed to go out and see that movie, but then Raya and Raymond basically bail. It's just like, nah, we don't really want to do it tonight, so enjoy yourself or whatever. So Dick's dad then comes in and says, like, hey, aren't you going out in the movie with your friends? It's like, I don't know. I guess I'm going alone. They bailed. And he's just like, all right, first off, this is Gotham City you're in. You're not going to the movie theater alone. That's crazy talk. Secondly, maybe it's because you're being a little bit of a show-off or whatever. And he's like, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm going anyway. And he's like, no, you're not. And trust me, you're going to want to be better to your friends, especially if you want to see a lot more movies. So then we cut over to Gotham General. Power's out, and someone was in surgery named Helsinger. I don't know if I'm supposed to know who that is, but regardless, they're about to stop the surgery because the power's out, but then all of a sudden, he gets up off the table, he's throwing stuff, he's huge, he has red skin, and he's like Solomon Grundy, but red skin. So I don't know who he is. But regardless, he starts throwing like surgeons everywhere and then busts out through the wall saying it hurts, it hurts. So we cut back to Dick in the theater. And those three kids who are at the end of the aisle are like, oh, hey, my name's Josh. That's CJ. That's Jaina. We thought you were like dead, but luckily you woke up. So yeah, we were waiting for you. My dad lives nearby. The other two here live across the river, so we're all just going to go back to my dad's place, and he'll take care of us there. And we find out, some of them are born and raised in Gotham, some of them are from Metropolis, but they all start making their way over to Josh's dad's place. So at the circus, they realize, oh no, Dick Grayson, he's went to the movies despite being told not to. Where could he be? How is he ever going to find his way home? We see Raya and Raymond are feeling kind of guilty that they didn't go with him, but it's really his mom that's like, oh no, he'll be right. He'll be all right. Like he's smart. He's quick. He should be fine. So we see CJ and the rest of the group are making their way down all the alleys, and they get this kind of thing where Josh's dad is apparently, like, he keeps on bringing himself like, oh, you know who my dad is. You know he's important, so we don't want to keep him waiting. And as they are walking down this alley, they come across the big red dude. I still don't have an Helsinger, as I'll just call him. So Helsinger jumps out and he says, "Oh, little people sneaking up on me." And he starts swiping at all the different kids, and they just go running. Dick's shirt is torn and all the hubbub. And as they make their way in, they get to this, I think, just random building. I don't think it's anything important. But they manage to close the door behind them and like bolt it up with a plank of wood. And everyone's like, okay, that was insane, whatever the hell that is. But there's a back entrance to this place. We can sneak out. Let's just go do that now. And we see that CJ has sprained his leg. He's not going to be able to walk, really. And Josh is like, leave him. Like, we got to get out of here before this thing finds us. He's not worth it if he's not going to be able to walk on his own. Like, let's go. And they basically say, like, dude, he's your friend. What are you talking about? He's like, fine, you stay with him. I'm out. So he leaves. Dick then basically takes his ragged shirt, tears it up, and says, like, hey, guys, we're going to make it through this. We're going to be fine. We're going to be just like the Sword Walkers, that movie at the beginning. They all wore red masks, so let's do the same. So he repurposes his shirt to be a bunch of masks for these kids as they're hobbling out, and they manage to sneak by the big red guy, start making their way down an alley, but then all of a sudden they hear his pounding at the door stop, and he's found them again, and he starts chasing them down. They manage to catch up with Josh, and they're like, Josh, run, he's on our tail. But Josh trips, he's about to get beaten up. CJ and Jane are like, leave him, he's not, like, he left us, let's leave him. But Dick goes back, he distracts Helsinger for a while, enough to get him up onto the roof of a building via some fire escapes, and then Dick makes this leap across the rooftops that Helsinger isn't able to make, and he falls down onto the ground below. And so we cut to later. All the kids have shown back up at the circus, because that was also the plan when they weren't going to be able to go to Josh's house anymore. They were going to go to the circus. And we find out that Josh's dad is known gangster in Gotham, known crime boss Sal Maroni. And Sal Maroni says, hey, my boy, you saved him. Where's the head of the circus? And Haley steps up and he's like, hey, Mr. Haley, you've cared for my son. Sal Maroni owes you one, and you know how far that goes in Gotham. So they've got that going on. And then Dick, after being grounded by his parents, finds Raya and Raymond and is basically like, hey, I saw some friendships be broken tonight because of how certain people behaved. I don't want that to be what we got going on, so let's mix up the act a little bit, and this time all of us will be the stars. And he pulls out the red masks as if that's going to be something that they do. So, yeah. I think it's fine. I don't think it needs to be a 0-year tie-in. I think that's just kind of like completely unconsequential to the story being told. You could have had this be anything, but having it be a flashback works for the purpose of 0-year. The only thing that I'm going to give a little critique here on is the villain. Like, yes, okay, he's a big bad and he's doing something, but like, am I supposed to know him? Is this like Blockbuster? Because I don't think it is, because Blockbuster was introduced in Hawkman. So I don't know who I'm looking at here. This is all just a random dude who's just big and brutish, and he never even got like a real name to him, which, in fairness, from the kid's perspective, he never would. But for a reader's perspective, you kind of expect it. But I digress. All in all, I'd say this is probably... I mean, it's fine. I'll say 6.5. It just doesn't feel like 7 material for me. But that may also just be because I'm kind of like on 0-year tie-ins as a whole. Nothing's really screaming that, no, this exists for a reason outside of we needed something to fill 0-year tie-ins. So yeah, 6.5 for this.